engagement and self-service at Empire Life. I'll be your host, Josh Koenig from Pantheon. Co-founded the company almost 14 years ago and was head of our product organization for the first 10 years of Pantheon's life, and now I have a broader role in strategy, which gives me more time to come out and talk and do things like this, which I really enjoy. Thank you all for your time and attention. Really thrilled to be joined by Luke. Luke, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, yeah, this works. Yeah, so I'm Luke Williscroft. I'm a digital asset manager for Empire Life. Empire Life is a small to mid-sized Canadian life insurance company, investments company, financial services, and I've been with them for 14 years as well. There you go.
There we go. We got some karma going. All right. So what I want to talk about is since I build myself as a host, I'm going to talk about my perspective as the person who set up the platform that works this way, and then you will hear from Luke, who's really actually done things with it in real life. So that's important too. But really, our perspective is that the difference with Pantheon and WebOps and this particular product we have called Multidev is we want to put people in a position where they continually improve their website. The traditional build, launch, maintain kind of cycle that our industry was built on, and still many projects run that way today, is not the way of the future. It's not, I would say, even the way of the present for where a lot of people want to be. Your web presence needs to be continually evolving. It's appropriate for this conference. And that's hard to do in a traditional setup where you kind of go through this big project, get something live, and then just try to keep it stable. And we've all been in these, if you're a web professional, you've been through probably multiple launches in your life, and it's not an unknown story to kind of get into this position where towards the end of the project, you're running out of time, maybe you're running out of budget, and you're trying to cram as much as you can in there, and you get the site launched, and then something's not right, and you fix it as fast as you can with whatever means are necessary, and then you get it stable, and then no one wants to touch it because they're all worried that something will happen if they do, and that just doesn't leave everybody in a good position. So we set about to do two things when we built Pantheon. And this was based on our experience before being Drupal consultants and eventually doing some really large projects ourselves. The first was just taking the best practices of continuous integration and deployment and setting up a way to have separate environments for development, testing, and the production website to run in, and a workflow that cycles code forward and content backwards, so that you can not step on each other's toes while you're doing things, and also you're able to easily look at everything together before you do a code release, and also all of these things are running on the same platform, so they all are guaranteed to behave in exactly the same way, so that you can banish the phrase, well, it worked on my machine forever, hopefully. So this was where we started with Pantheon. This is what we launched with, it took us a couple years to build. It's about 12 years ago we launched with this. But we knew when we launched that this was not enough, because we'd had the experience ourselves. But we get, doing a startup, minimum viable product, get it out there, make sure it works. The first feature that we built, and it's still one of our most popular features that we're going to talk about today, is Multidev. Because one development environment is not enough. It's not enough. You can't share one development environment. Now, I'm not going to ever try to say that local development shouldn't be a thing, but cloud-based development is superior in almost every way. Number one, if it's done right, it's way less hassle for you to set up an environment and get things going. Number two, you want that same guarantee that it's all going to work the same way, which is actually kind of a challenge between local and cloud. Your laptop is never going to even come close to faithfully mimicking your production environment. And then number three, you usually, there's collaboration to be done. You want to share these environments with people, and trying to have it used to be people would crowd around the laptop. How's it looking? And now it's okay, I'll share my screen on Zoom so you can see my local environment. That's not a great experience for collaborating with stakeholders. Being able to send someone a link and say, check it out, is actually much better. Being able to have an automated process that creates one of these, does a bunch of tests, and posts back to the pull request with the link to check it out is even better. And that's kind of best in class today. So that's Multidev. It's one of our most popular features still to this day, and it has a lot of different uses that as we'll hear about. And I just want to return to what this lets you do and how you change the way you work when you're using this type of process that we call web ops, which is, here's the red line the old way, which is, it's kind of like how much are you burning down your effort or your budget or your team. Like, okay, go, 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 we got to get there. It's the death march. And then, okay, we maintain, and now here you're just doing like the bare minimum security patches. And what that means is, wherever you got to here is all the functionality that your stakeholders will ever get. That's all the user experience the end site visitors will ever get. At this point, you're just fixing bugs and maintaining things. And that means that what you had here was whatever you guys thought up over here, which was probably a year ago or more. And all the learnings of what actually works are happening here. And so you end up with a site that was built, thought up back there, built as good as you could get it at the peak of this, and now you're living with out here, and you're learning things about how it should be. You can't do anything about it. It's no fun. Versus the web ops way, which is, this is not easy, because getting to this point means you have to do a lot more work with the stakeholders to get people comfortable with the idea that not everything will be perfect when you launch. People aren't used to that. Takes a lot of work on the human side to get there. But if you can, and you've got the tools to actually follow through on this, you get to a launch early, nobody's burned out, everybody's still got gas in the tank, you know what you need to do next because you knew what was missing here, what you thought. So you started kind of work on those things, and you're doing releases here that are small, they're like 1.1 release, 1.2 release. And now you're starting to figure out what really works, what people really need, and you can start to invest at this point and double down on what works. And that's how you build websites that people love using, that people love visiting, that drive great results. So that's, Multidev makes that possible, doesn't solve all the human problems, but it gets the technology out of the way. And with that, I want to turn it over to Luke to talk about how they've actually used it in real life.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. No, this is important.
Sorry, I added this slide yesterday, that's why I forgot about it. So this is just a lot of words that explains this in the DevOps concept of shift left, shift right. So the idea is shift left means move earlier in the process, shift right means later in the process or further down the production pipeline. And a lot of times, we doing websites, ultimately we work for a marketing organization. That's who our real customer is, our stakeholder. So in the old world, if you go back, when all this got started, developers were doing web production all the time. It was the only way to do it. You had to make HTML to make a website, and so it was only developers could do content production. And now we've been in this wave of not doing that. We have content management systems, but very frequently they're like incredibly complicated, maybe like not fully complete. Still need web developers to do a lot of content production or operate the CMS or whatever it is. We've got to put that behind us. The developers need to shift earlier into the production process, so they're actually thinking not just about making the website look right to the outside visitor, but also be usable to the non-developer stakeholders who actually have to operate it. And that lets the marketing people shift right towards the production side of the process, towards the live website, which they can then own and operate themselves. Like, that's the big shift. And it's really hard to get there with that traditional project model because you don't get people to really pay attention until the site is live. So you have to get the site live and then work with your stakeholders to make sure that they can use it. You can't, it's very difficult to get to a world where you get a ton of engagement from your users before you have a live product. And so, this is just a way to apply the shift left, shift right thinking of DevOps to WebOps and how it applies to development and marketing. And now I will give it over to Luke.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, the Empire Life example of what Josh has talked about here, just a quick kind of level set of who we are and what we do. We are a small life insurance company. Our competitors are a lot bigger than us, Manulife, Sun Life, Canada Life. They've got, I don't know how many employees, but a lot more than we have. We're kind of one of the smallest in the country. And Empire.ca is our corporate website that's on Drupal, our digital front door, as it were. We are a very small team. The subset of the team that works on Empire.ca is one full-time developer, one contract developer, and one content administrator. So it's really small, which is, for our corporate website, it's really, I want to say, underfunded a little bit, but we're a small shop, and we're part of the bigger digital development team. So the actual front, we call it the front office digital development team. That's kind of everyone working on forward-facing, public-facing apps. Probably about 40 developers in total. So really a small team working on Empire.ca. And we kind of inherited this Drupal site. Going back to what Josh was saying, it was kind of that red line, that death march to get something over the line. We had to move off a legacy CMS in 2017 pretty quickly because it was about to fall over. And we'd already got some microsites on Drupal, so that was our path. But when we launched that, we got it over the line, and then it stopped. And even though we were kind of business ready and tooled up, ready to work on it, the business priorities shifted. So Empire Life went through a kind of a mega digital transformation from 2017 to the last couple of years, where we actually went from, so let me give you context here as well. We're old school life insurance company, right? All of our business came in on paper. It had to be scanned, keyed in, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, brutal. So we went from having zero business coming in digitally in 2016-ish to about 90-95% of all new business coming in digitally in the last couple of years. So it's been a huge transformation. And to do that, we had to, because our development team was 2 or 3 people back then, we had to hire a ton of people, and we had to build a ton of different apps to do that. We had sales apps, and these were built in Python, Django, React. They're different from what we're doing with Empire.ca, but we were building sales apps, we were building portals for our advisors and customers, we were implementing SSO through Auth0 across all of our sites. And so obviously no one was looking at Empire.ca. It just kind of sat there with the basic updates and critical updates that were needed. And it wasn't actively enhanced in the slightest. So we needed to shift left because even though the business was focused on all of these new shiny apps that we were building and that were digitally transforming the business, at the end of the day, Empire.ca is still the digital front door to the business, and it didn't look very good. It was kind of yeah. And it's not perfect now. It's still a work in progress. We've got a small team, but it needed some love. And it still was a key part of the business. I don't want to underplay the significance of it. We got 3 lines of business: insurance, investments, and group solutions. We've got the whole corporate area. So many stakeholders, 3 different marketing teams coming to us with daily content updates, new pages, new landing pages, new campaigns. There are thousands of documents on that site. Lots to manage. So we were becoming the bottleneck, and we're not able to develop new features. We're not able to actively enhance the site in any way because we're just stuck trying to keep up with all these requests. And you can imagine the frustration that creates when you've got a meh-looking website, and yeah, you can just imagine. So we needed to shift left because we were the bottleneck, and we weren't able to actively enhance the site. So that's where Multidev helps. And Multidev has really transformed. And again, it's still a work in progress. We're not there yet. We're still getting there. But Multidev has really, really helped us to easily ship improvements to the CMS and kind of bring ourselves to the left and allow the lines of business, the content authors to shift right. And where we're at right now, it's, again, a work in progress, but some of the things that we really need to do and that the developers are focused on is consolidating our content types. We've got probably 25, 30 content types on our Empire.ca. It's way, way too big and bloated. Clean up the CSS and theming. Like Josh said, those days of kind of cowboy coding and throwing stuff out at the last minute from our developers, just doing stuff to get something over the line. We want to get away from that because it's not manageable long term. And then standardizing our UX components as well. So we're working with our design team now to, again, shift left. Standardize all those components in the beginning so that we don't have to develop them and code them every time we've got a new campaign to launch, or any time we've got a new page to launch, anything like that. Obviously, there's some other benefits here as well for Multidev. You know, it does create a massively more seamless workflow. In our business, we're heavily regulated, being a financial services company. So having that audit trail, having that change management approval trail is crucial for us as well, and Multidev allows that to happen very easily. So really what we're trying to do is democratize the content production. In shifting left through the development team and allowing the marketing team to shift right, we've used Multidev to create a sandbox environment where the content authors can train, they can get used to it in a playground, right? In an easy way to get familiar with the site and get going with it. The key thing here, though, is using Drupal roles and permissions correctly. I don't know how familiar everyone is with that, but you know, there's a very fine level of granularity you can go down to. And so just giving the marketing content authors the permissions that they need to do exactly what they need to do and nothing else. And again, that's still a work in progress when we're trying to consolidate our content types and make sure that they have access to the right things. But again, Multidev gives us the environment where we can say, here, you know, go try posting your news release or your product update or whatever, and it empowers them, it gets them on board, and they can see how to do it in a non-scary way. It takes out the heavy lifting for them. So, you know, taming the UI experience is pretty crucial there, and again, still having that audit trail and being able to show to our compliance folks as well, you know, hey, this is what people have access to, this is what they can do, and it makes life a lot easier for everybody. So Josh, I want to hand it back to you, but that's really our story, our case study of what we're doing with Multidev, why it's helped us. As I say, it's still a work in progress. We're not there yet, but we're getting there.
Well, thank you, Luke. Yeah, I mean, and I think it's always a work in progress, right? That's the theme of the name of the event, Evolving Drupal. You don't stop evolving. And so it's not about being perfect. It's just about being better, a little bit better every day. I just can't, you know, what you talked about with like taming the UI experience and crafting that for the users, like especially in the context in the Drupal ecosystem, like the whole Starshot initiative and everything else, that's born out of that same need. Because if we don't serve those people well, our projects won't thrive. And I think crafting Drupal as a digital product, both for the end users but also for the content administrators, is a really key part of our practice and our industry. And we're happy to support that. That's one of the things that being iterative and continuing to improve your website after that initial launch is very helpful for doing. So thank you all for attending, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have. Are there any questions? Yes. Yeah. The question was, we like using Multidev, but sometimes we run into problems or forget the limitations with naming. This is a wonderful Pantheon-specific, like, owie question. Because of some things that we did to get the product live 11 years ago, you can only use, I think, 11 characters, 10 or 11 characters to name each environment. And that is something that will get fixed, but it's gonna get fixed in like along with a bunch of other stuff as we like reroute the way that we do environment creation. So it's not like, yes, but it'll probably take until sometime next year before that starts to happen. There's hope. And the other thing I would say, the other like ultra common question that people have is, you know, we developed this feature in an era before online version control management platforms like GitHub and Bitbucket and others had really emerged. Like GitHub was around, but it was in beta. And so we felt the need to build our own version control infrastructure to make sure that people had that, and that's key to how the workflow works. And as a result, like, if you were adopting Pantheon today, you would like, where's my like connect my GitHub account button? Because this should just all be connected already. That is coming in kind of the same rework that will happen, and we'll start to see the light of day hopefully sometime early to mid next year. Other questions? You can ask me an uncomfortable or ask Luke a question.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep. Could everyone hear that? I assume so if I could hear it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we're trying to do, we're trying to release every 2 to 3 weeks, like a major release to production, So we're trying to do that just continuously, kind of like that blue line that Josh had there, just continuously now that we have a little bit of momentum with this setup. But yeah, exactly that. Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, there's lots of nuance, and teams do like some details differently. Like some teams like to use tagging, other people like have different branching strategies. But from Multidev's perspective, it's kind of agnostic to the specifics of your branching and merging strategy. It's just like as many environments as you need for whichever branches need them. And one of the things I love about Luke's story is there's a part of this that is about like the content, the release process, and user acceptance testing for new things. There's part of the story. I mean, we were talking about this before. There's the new employee branch where it's like hey, do you need a training environment for what is live today for someone who just joined the team to screw around in and like not break anything? Like that's another neat use case for being able to just spin up environments that are disposable whenever you need.
And it'll also depend on the feature, right? Like we'll spin up an environment for one ticket if we need to. It really depends.
Yes.
For us, I mean, if we have an urgent fix that will, take priority over everything, like that would always be our number one. The dev environment wouldn't ever be that out of sync that we couldn't just push it through. We would move something off into a multi-dev if we need to, but that's never been an issue.
Yeah, the as part of like kind of the initial question and kind of like modernizing some of the workflow around this, I wish we had named dev something different, because once you have multi-dev, that dev environment is really your integration environment. So it's like the first stage of the release process. And the reality today is people who are like very clever with multi-dev and use it really well, what we named the test environment is often kind of superfluous because they do all the testing a bunch earlier. So like reworking some of that deployment pipeline stuff as it comes out of the box is something that is part of this, like, let's re-architect this to meet people's more modern needs. But I will say the other answer to that today is, there's very straightforward version control workflow, and this is in our documentation. There's not a button in the dashboard to do it, unfortunately, but it's a pretty easy set of command lines where what you do is you just say, I need the dev to rewind back to what production is now, reset that to where the branch is at, put the hot fix in there, and just deploy it. Like that you can do in a matter of minutes if necessary. Any more for any more? All right, thank you very much. This was great. Really appreciate it.